The email landed in my inbox like a slap. Notice of violation, unauthorized business operation. I blinked at the subject line, thinking it was spam. But no, the sender was the Brookhaven Trails HOA board, signed by President Lila Dunmore, the same woman who once lectured me about mailbox heights. Apparently, my business activity, a laptop, headset, and a Wi-Fi signal, was a commercial enterprise that disrupted the residential integrity of the community. Translation: I was working remotely, like half the planet. They fined me $250. I sat in my living room, staring at the letter taped to my door, thinking this had to be a joke. I was a software engineer, not running a car wash in the driveway. When I called the HOA office, Lila picked up, her voice sugar-coated but smug. "Oh, Mr. Reyes," she said, "our covenants prohibit any form of business operation in residential areas. We've received reports of you conducting professional calls during work hours." "Reports?" I asked. "You mean me talking in my home office?" "Neighbors are concerned about privacy," she replied, "and parking. You have a second car sometimes?" "That's my fiance's." "Well, we'll need documentation for that too." That's when I realized this wasn't about rules, it was about control. I'd seen Lila's little regime before. She once fined a family because their Halloween skeleton leaned too provocatively. She made retirees repaint fences 3 shades lighter because gray wasn't HOA approved. This was just her latest power trip, and I'd had enough. I paid the fine just to shut her up, but I promised myself something right then. That was the last dollar she'd ever take from me. Over the next few weeks, I noticed things. People walking their dogs faster when Lila's SUV drove by, a nervous laugh when her name came up in conversation, and late at night, HOA emails pinging residents with new guideline adjustments that seemed to target random people. One guy, Ben from down the street, got fined for hosting unauthorized gatherings. It was his daughter's 7th birthday. An elderly widow, Mrs. Patel, was told to remove her bird bath because it attracted non-native wildlife. This was dictatorship disguised as suburban order. And then came the meeting, the infamous June HOA General Assembly, where Lila and her 2 loyal officers, Harold and Monica, held court like minor royalty. I decided to attend just to see them in action. I sat quietly in the back while residents voiced frustration after frustration. Landscaping costs, arbitrary fines, late notices sent for bills already paid. Each time Lila smiled politely and said, "We'll take it under advisement." When one man asked how she got re-elected every year, she changed the topic to holiday decor uniformity. That's when I saw the pattern. Nobody ever ran against her. She'd built a little fiefdom through apathy and fear. That night I started reading the HOA bylaws like they were a puzzle. And sure enough, hidden in Section 9, subparagraph D, it said, "Any member in good standing may submit candidacy for election with 5 verified signatures from other homeowners." 5 signatures, that's all it took. I printed the form that same night. By the weekend, I had 20. People were desperate for change. "Are you serious about running?" Ben asked me as he handed over his pen. "I'm serious about ending this nonsense," I said. Mrs. Patel smiled for the first time in months. "You have my vote, Beta. End this terror." Word spread faster than gossip at the pool. Lila didn't take it well. She sent a clarification email claiming the HOA needed to pre-approve all candidacies, which wasn't true. When that didn't scare me, she escalated. A second fine, this time for unsanctioned political activity. I framed it on my wall. The campaign wasn't fancy. I printed flyers at the library, hosted backyard coffee chats, and went door to door talking to people who'd given up hope. By the end of the month, we weren't just running for president. We were building a movement. Election day felt like a block party mixed with a courtroom. The clubhouse was packed, half the neighborhood, maybe more. Lila sat at the front table in a floral blazer, gripping her clipboard like it was a weapon. She started with her usual speech about maintaining community standards and protecting property values. But this time, there were whispers in the crowd. Then she said, "As there are no qualified challengers on record." I stood up. "Actually, there are." The room went quiet. I walked up to the table, placed my candidacy forms on the desk, and said, 20 signatures verified. You've had them for a week, Lila. Her smile twitched. Those weren't properly. Bylaw Section 9D, I interrupted. Any member in good standing, which I am, despite your bogus fines. A few people clapped, others laughed nervously. Fine, she hissed. We'll proceed. The ballots were printed, the votes cast, and for the first time in years, residents stayed to watch the count. Lila and her cronies fumbled with the papers, whispering between themselves. When the final tally was read, it wasn't even close. 74 votes. 19. The room erupted. People cheered, clapped, even whistled. Lila looked like she'd swallowed a lemon whole. As per the bylaws, the new board was to be formed immediately. I turned to the crowd and said, "Who wants to serve this community, not control it?" Hands shot up everywhere. Ben, Mrs. Patel, even Doug from the corner house who'd been fined for wind chimes. We filled the seats that night. The Brookhaven Trails HOA was reborn, right there, under Lila's stunned silence. She stormed out halfway through, muttering about illegitimate proceedings. But no one followed her. For the first time, people felt free to breathe. When I looked out at them, I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about giving a voice back to people who'd been silenced by petty power. The next morning, I unlocked the HOA office for the first time as president. It felt surreal. The place was a time capsule of Lila's control, filing cabinets stuffed with fines, complaint forms, and confidential notes about residents' yards. We spent days cleaning it out. Every arbitrary rule she'd created was repealed, every fine she'd imposed was reviewed. Ben found a box labeled Neighborhood Surveillance Reports. Inside were printed photos of people's homes, timestamps, notes, even aerial shots from a drone. We shredded every one. The reforms began fast. We implemented a transparent budget, capped fines at reasonable amounts, and created an open forum where residents could actually discuss changes before they happened. But my favorite project came from Mrs. Patel. "You work from home," she said. "Why not make this office useful?" That's when the idea hit. Turn the HOA building into a free community co-working space. Within weeks, the old rule-filled office had been transformed. The beige walls were painted warm yellow, coffee tables added, Wi-Fi boosted, and the conference room renamed the Freedom Room. Now every weekday, people came in with laptops and coffee mugs, freelancers, teachers grading papers, parents balancing spreadsheets. The same HOA that once punished remote work now powered it. When the ribbon-cutting ceremony came, the turnout was huge. Local news even showed up. "This was once a place people dreaded," I said in my speech. "Now it's a place that brings us together. That's what community means." As for Lila, she tried to file a complaint with the county, claiming the election was invalid due to procedural tampering. The county official reviewed the bylaws and told her flatly, "You lost fair and square." After that, she moved to a gated community 2 towns over. Ironically, they didn't let her join the board. Sometimes when I pass the old sign that still says Brookhaven Trails HOA, I think about how small things spiral into revolutions. It started with a fine for doing my job and ended with an entire neighborhood finding its voice again. Now every morning, I log into work from my favorite seat in that little office. The walls hum with conversation, the coffee smells like victory, and sunlight hits the sign that hangs above the door. Community over control. And for once, the HOA finally lives by it.